Not much of theory today. It's sharing the kind of use cases. The interactions will happen like in the audience. You'll have better solutions. Tell them. If you see a better solution on their side, say hi and give them an encouraging hand to flourish there. But the whole and the concept is to make them stay in Agri, not to leave the technology solutions into other domains. That's a whole effort we are doing in Thai. Maybe it's a solution developed by a special interest group promoted startup or a corporate coming in or connecting with the government. In fact, today we have the ONDC, Deepak is here, no? Who is doing the open network digital commerce for Agri. Like they're ready to reach, when Nandan was speaking to me, he said, ONDC I have created to reach the grassroots, not the FMCGs and others. But the grassroots are yet to reach. In fact, the interaction session after an hour is more to connect the network partners who have been protocol alliance compliance with the ONDC and how protocols tabled on the platforms help the grassroots to take the kind of buyer connects. So these are the kind of stories we want to hear today. We wanted people who are keen to participate and come into the kind of entire domain blending with the tech. We have Benjamin Swan from Singapore. He will tell you great stories. And the topic which I will introduce later also, the advancements in technology interventions towards sustainable farming practices. Now, Benjamin, we met in Thai in a global session last year in Singapore. So we became very good friends because we have a lot of common interests to plow in. He's a banker from Citibank. See how he has come into tech integration into the vertical farming. And he has traveled in the east part. When you say south-south, he'll play more from the southeastern part of the hemisphere. And he has plowed the technology interventions, maybe from Australia to Malaysia and Singapore. I don't know why he is too late in India, but you are welcome here. And he has started interacting with the academia to put the kind of innovation. He may bring the technologies which are good there, but attempt here is to customize it to local ecosystem. So we can't just translate what has happened there and come here and put. So yesterday we were in a couple of campuses welcoming him, come in here, we'll do something together. And he has promised he is going to come with a bag of money. I think he is wanting to put something like $50 million for setting up a dedicated center of excellences. So that's the small introduction I have from Benjamin, but you will hear more from him. I have from Hexagon, Parmeshwar. They have established a dedicated Center of Excellence in University of Agriculture Sciences. And you have to see to believe how automation, how mechanization can actually result into ease of farming into the grassroots. We visited, spent a couple of hours there, and 5 labs established there speaks how much of volumes you can do for Agri. The technologies have been successfully use cases in Brazil, not the North Hemisphere, South Hemisphere, where we have the tropical areas where we can translate them. I could see some of the interventions they have done with the local tractors, drones, then soil testing mechanisms. So he will explain more of it, and it will capture our interest where we should actually bring in. Next is Varun. He is not a new face for you. Varun has been a kind of great help for me to put through the entire interactive sessions here for a couple of years now. But back in his profession, he has done huge work. The new products which have come for the AgWise is the interactive. I think NABARD has been helping them Ruchi is here from Nepal. Like she's helping him to connect with the FPOs. And he has also done the drip irrigation IoT solutions in Krishi Vijnana Kendras around Bangalore, and some of the FPOs are picking up those solutions. He will explain more of it, and Varun is a part of the TIE matrix for a couple of years. We have Subhankar, all the way from Calcutta. He says carbon. And my question to Subhankar is always, where is the money out of carbon? I think India is taking a little bit of time in the policy. I think Nipun will be able to throw some light the way you are doing with the government of India and the policy thing. But Subhankar's touch base is more with the northeastern part of the country, where FPOs have been, kind of being connected to put through their better, cultivation practices, IT integrations, and also buyer-seller connects. He will tell his stories, good and bad, which we should assemble it here. Other gentleman is on the way, Hetendra, but I have Shruti. Women hardly come into Agri. She has come in. She's a techie with a management background from Singapore, but she is now with IBB, incubated in Bangalore. You know what she does? She takes the waste matters from all these producers, picks it up, which is rejected in a lot, convert that into very usable products. She also has a PGA, which is a growth promoter. And they are into, collaborative exercise with Indian Institute of Science and University of Agricultural Sciences, where trial runs are going on. No wonder next year she comes with both these products with a thumb. And people will look for us. If we have something waste, please take it. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And the other gentleman who is just landed from Hyderabad is Segritech. Segritech does the segregation of the agri commodities. Like you have seen tomatoes in mixed bags with, kind of spoiled and with a smaller size or decolored, but you have the best tomatoes also. So Segritech is developed a robotic, equipment to do this. He will explain more. So before we get into, the conversations, I will just put some numbers how 100 years, we just told about you and you're here. In fact, I was doubting whether he will come because he's going to UK tomorrow to make his presentation. I think some platform there which is recognizing his contribution in robotics with IoT solutions. We just explained and you will explain more later. I'll just take 10 minutes, 5-6 minutes why precision agriculture should be there. The alliance part, I was just putting through some of the statistics from the government and also some of these coming from the EY. Yeah. Distinctive advantages we have in spices, pulses, milk. I think Ashok Kalpa CEO is also going to join here. He has done the dairy value chain. These are the areas where the technology should come, not the traditional cereal or pulse crops, but can we do something different? And second largest producer is in India in terms of wheat, fruits and vegetables, sugarcane, cotton oil seeds. Then livestock we have the largest, but production-wise it's the volumes we are not built so much. And then we have variety of soil types like 50-60% variation is there usually. And agri-climatic reasons, it's such a heterogeneous ecosystem which we should always recognize that and plan our, and that's where the technology has to come. And we have huge arable lands compared to, thank you. Now see the kind of stakeholders we have to touch base. Is 150 million farmers depend on it. 40 million retail. 40 million retailers and 1 billion plus customers. Which domain gives you such a scope? And a huge product and packaging. And food delivery, food tech has been witnessing more than 100 plus startups bringing their distinctive food products, and they're coming to branded. Every time you go into a kind of retail unit, there is a new brand coming in. This has all happened because of the technology interventions. The 8 trends which I was listing in the morning was food distribution attracts more capital than food brands itself. And there's a supply chain mechanism. I was requesting the supply chain presenter today, the Bitcoins today. This is the area where you see branding opportunities are more into vegetables and fruits and staples. Innovations happen in cold storage. Besides the precision agriculture and production side, is 125 billion per annum is going into this. Fibers have taken a major space now than the grains, because it gives the kind of, the production itself is 320 million tons, over 280 million tons, which is the traditional food grains which we depended. But India, in Bharat, millets have occupied, because thanks to the protein, calcium, iron, fiber, micronutrients it gives, and very low glycemic index. And alternative proteins, which has come in a big way. In fact, Benjamin is talking about this yesterday, like, can we not do this with the food tech institutions, industry and startups? We try to support them. Herbal organic foods, like it builds a health and well-being of the wellness. And what's the size? Like in food market will take 1 trillion by 2030. And we should contribute and have a major game there. And processing itself take $100 million from India, which has not been explored. And the engagement will happen from the rural SMEs, FPOs or farmers, are where the farm income can be boosted upon. There are some myths, like we always think that it should be done only in large-scale agriculture. But the fact is that farm family produces 3/4 of the world food. I wish Krishi Kalpa was here. Like 900 farm families are now earning an average monthly net income of 50,000 plus now. So that's the kind of farm family contribution to the system. And even FAO says less than 2.5 acres farm holding, where less than 1 hectare, they are available in something like 3/4 of all farms globally. So we can't ignore them. So myth 1 is disproved, and myth 2 is small holdings are more efficient to produce than the large farms. And myth 3, the traditional farming, is it necessary to feed? No, it has to be a different ecosystem built up now with tech. So why should the healthy tailwinds is that we have huge high-speed internets now. It's affordable. It's precision agriculture mops up the funding, like the market potential is something like $3 billion. I collected this from AgWise surveys out of the 24 billion. But I still feel the supply chain has to, be equated by precision agriculture, which when we hear all of you, we will see that that's the potential. And these are things which we'll share the slides later, but precision agriculture, some of the startups who have come into majors now, have done analytics and machine learning and also market linkages happening there in quality. In the next slide, you'll also see how the tech adaptations happen across value chains in quality management, particularly when I said the export, potentials have to be explored, and the quality has to be there, including the traceability and other things. So what the precision agriculture we all speak about is the brand, the key demand drivers is climate, water, pest and diseases, soil quality, labor. So most of you are going to speak about it. And these are the broad drivers and what is going to be rationale behind it. And agri-tech interventions across the value chain, just telling precision agriculture can augment 30% of the yield easily in any crops you take. These are the views, how the comparatives happen between traditional models and agri-techs. These are the use cases which we could extract and prove this. It can be better with precision agriculture. The slides will be available on the slide shares we do from the time matrix. So you can quote this anywhere. Sorry. Quality management and traceability will, in fact, one of the TraceX, one of the startup which emerged out of our networking here. So this uneven quality and lack of testing will actually put us down in agri products. So these are the one slide which compares on the promoting value chain linkages and the other effective production systems. In fact, the precision agriculture comes into the creating effective production systems. See today, first is the guidance in terms of the how the imaging can play a role, how the application controls can lower the input costs and optimize or economize on the inputs we put to, and integrated solutions. So these are the few things which I just wanted to share, and the hall is almost full now. I think yes, we'll meet the challenges and go ahead with these potentials existing. Thanks for the patient hearing. I invite Benjamin to kick off the first one. We will hear from abroad. And then
it's actually lovely to be back in Bangalore. As Ashok mentioned, I am an ex-banker. So I worked at Citibank, and in fact, the branch around the corner, I was stationed in Bombay for about 6 months, and I was here every Thursday and Friday for the better part of 6 months. So it's lovely to be back, and the city has evolved so much since I was last here. But before I became a banker, and my role at Citibank was actually digitalizing the bank and actually creating smart banking, which we started in Singapore, and then we started rolling out across Asia and then globally. So it was a huge success. But this was really my foray with digitalization, but more importantly, understanding the data that we were collecting from our customers and figuring out how we could use that information, how we made sure it was clean so we can add additional value to them, right? Before that, and this is what actually brought me to Singapore, is that I'm actually a construction engineer by training. So 17 years ago, I moved to Singapore as an engineer to build the Marina Bay Sands Sky Park. So I did the big boat-looking thing at the top, the center tower and the atrium. Having moved from, clearly, Australia, I became very frustrated when I moved to Singapore with the quality of produce, right? I was paying a premium for substandard quality, and if I didn't consume within 12 hours of opening a bag, for the leafy greens that I love, like kale, arugula, spinach, it would quite literally melt at the bottom of the bag, and that really frustrated me, but it wasn't Singapore's fault, it wasn't the farmer's fault. In order to grow those products, they'd have to come from cold climates, Australia, Europe. So there was a lot of time, there's a lot of logistics. That's why it was expensive, that's why the quality went down, and that's why if I didn't consume it very quickly, it would melt to the bottom of the bag. So it was actually when I was working at Citibank, and in fact around here, that I read this article by Dixon de Pommier on vertical farming. And back then, it was just conceptual. It was renditions, and I thought to myself, this business model is silly. Who's going to grow produce inside of a building? But maybe I'll figure out how to grow some great salad at home. So my journey with food started as a guy that just wanted good salad in Singapore. Fast forward a few years, 18 months in a basement teaching myself how to grow. But more importantly, because I hadn't done a veggie patch, let alone hydroponics in my life before, I had to teach myself how to grow. And back then, no one was talking about the environmental impact of traditional farming. the logistics and the food waste and all these problems surrounding our centralized farming systems. So then I thought to myself, well, maybe if I grow a business model, or create, or still grow, if I create a business model that exclusively grows products in that niche of coming from very long distances, then I could play to win by building a moat around these products, by creating infrastructure that could grow inside of a building. And the success of that was actually Asia's first, in fact, one of the global first commercial farms called Sustainable Agriculture. I don't know if anyone has been to Singapore and tried a product called Kinky Kale. But what we had done was not only figured out how we could grow products like kale, arugula, spinach. We were first history indoor strawberries, cherry tomatoes, edible flowers. With indoor farming, it's really infinite what you can grow. It's what you should grow that's really important, right? So having gone through and creating this great business model, but also products that replace what would happen out in nature, because we use technology to replicate what happens in nature inside of a space like this. My Singaporeans didn't like kale. Very bitter, very tough. So obviously because it was a superfood, I wanted to get the best nutrition from this product. So their problem statement to me was like, make it less bitter, make it less tough. We like lettuce, make it like lettuce. Sounds like an impossible statement, right? Not really. So through my trials and trying all these different lights and looking at the frequency of light and also the macro, micro elements within the nutrition that goes into growing these products, I was measuring both the qualitative and quantitative measures. And this is a real point here, which is I learned very quickly that every time that you run a trial and you're using energy, you're using chilled water, you're using all these resources, you want to see where you're getting diminishing returns throughout the life cycle of the product. Now, you can't put a seed to foam cube, wait 90 days and expect to have a linear return. Plants go through peaks and troughs. And just like babies to adults, we need different things in our life, right? So I learned that I had to take all these data points throughout the life cycle of the plant. But then when my customers came back and said, hey, I want it less bitter, less tough, through actually running these trials and trialing different lights and the different frequencies, I'd seen that far red, for example, not only makes the plant stretch and the internodes long, but very bitter. So I tried to find a light recipe that was using less far red and more blue and a little bit of green and red. And I started to figure out that I could actually do this thing called EMO instead of GMO, which is environmentally modified organisms. So we created these products that taste sweet. And if anyone's tried kale, that doesn't go in with the same sentence, right? So we created EMO and then concerned that I had made this product less nutritious because anything that tastes good is normally not good for you. We sent it down to the labs. We actually got 5 kilos from the East Coast of Australia to compare it versus a soil-based organic vegetable. Our kale has 6 times the manganese, 3 times vitamin C, 60% more calcium, 40% more iron. So not only can we make food more nutritious, but also taste better. Now, that's the power of CEA farms. Now, CEA is not going to solve our global food issue, right? It's a very expensive way of operating, and you need to exclusively grow to displace long distances. Thereby, from the commercial lens, you take the margin from the middleman, and from an ESG standpoint, you get rid of food waste, you get rid of carbon through logistics, and all that great stuff. So 2 years ago, I stepped down from Sustainable, having learned all the problems with the fragmentation of the industry, to figure out how do we empower our smallhold farmers with technology. And with over 80% of our farmers in Asia, Middle East, and Africa occupying less than 2 hectares of land, the total space they occupy is 40% of that land, right? No technology company wants to pay attention to them. They're too small. So with the thesis of standardization in both hardware and software, understanding that there's no silver bullet to growing, but using the guardrails, using the data of what we've done in Singapore, in Hong Kong, in Malaysia, how do we take that intelligence, create these innovation labs that we can then work with IHLs to then build bespoke, localized solutions so we can cost down the hardware assets, we can make the software relevant to them, and we can make real impact wherever we operate within the world.
Okay, since Ashok stepped out for a little bit, I'll take over moderating. So thank you for that, Ben. I think your experience in different agroclimatic zones, coming into a new one like India will really help. Just 2 questions for you. The first one is we do see a lot of companies fail basically, trying to get into the space of precision farming and agri-tech in general. Do you have any thoughts on why that might be?
I think we're seeing a lot of CEA farms fail globally. I'm seeing a lot of traction in precision agriculture for outdoor farming, that's for sure. If we maybe double click on indoor farms, okay, we've seen a lot of Chapter 11s. This is very typical for a new industry. We've all heard of the Gartner hype cycle. We're in the trough of disillusionment. We're in that second wave right now. That was really kind of pushed by the Ukraine war, these macro and geopolitical influences that has driven not just resources like fertilizer costs, but also energy. And energy, we use a lot of that in an indoor farm. And my first company, Sustainir, is not exempt from that as well, but because of the technology that we created back in 2018, 2019, we were able to weather that. And the philosophy for us in why Singapore first, because the operating expenses there are so high. So if we could create a vertical farm business model that works in Singapore, it can work anywhere in the world. Now, when I talked earlier about the fragmentation of the industry, it's very hard to adopt technology, especially when you've got thousands of different companies out there trying to sell you stuff, and as soon as you adopt it into an ecosystem that you need to put together, and if you don't have a technology background, which most farmers don't, it's impossible, right? And in that ecosystem, one piece fails, everything fails. So that's where I had my inflection point, and the business model of Sustainir is as an operator. And we have the consumer brand, so we can take it from seed to end consumer. We can capture the whole value chain. We can also have the feedback loop from the customers and what they want us to create into the future. So our new innovations, but also how we can tailor our existing products to meet their requirements. So we had a new vertical, which was technology, because we weren't getting the results we needed to survive in Singapore and Hong Kong. So I scaled into Hong Kong with a facility in Hong Kong. It was always in country for country. And so I went out and created my own light, and we had such amazing success with that light. I tripled my yield. The power came down 32%. My capex came down 60%. I took that to the Singapore government, and I said, I think this fragmentation is a big problem for the industry at large. Can you back me on the R&D? They covered 90% of the cost. 3 months later, I did the full vertical stack, and I created the world's first AI operating system for a farm, a vertical farm called Sarah, Sustainir's Agricultural Real-Time Assistant. And with the integration of the full stack of technology, our total utilities cost came down 48%. Our yield tripled, and the total capex came down around 60%. And for me, is that aha moment for me to go out and make further impact into the way that not only we produce, but also consume food. So that was, for me, why I stepped down from Sustainir, because I saw that there could be so much more impact. Not saying that we're going to take what we learn from, well, not what we do in indoor farms and put that in outdoor environments. That doesn't make sense. But how precise we are inside of a vertical farm, one seed, one product. Or even better, when you grow a perennial plant, you might get 8 or 9 iterations out of that plant. We're using 95% less water. We're using about 60% less fertilizers. And when we talk about leafy greens, the gold standard globally is about 4 kilos per meter square per annum. We do 772 in a space like this. Ultra efficient. But what we get from the power of indoor farms as far as what we learn, because everything is consistent inside the environment, we get to see how the plants actually react to environment. So then the insights to seed breeding, to fertilizers, that is how CEA will help us into the future with precision ag and outdoor farms.
Thanks, Benjamin.
That's great, thank you.
In fact, my request to the audience is, like, Benjamin is here today, tomorrow. Having one-on-one is most crucial. That when he gets back to Singapore, he will digest more about us and come back with solutions which can be implemented here. Thanks, Benjamin. Great stories there. Parmeshwar, you tell your experience, like how could you manage to get into University of Agriculture Sciences and put the money there for a very engineering aspects to be done. Please go ahead, take 5 minutes to put through your thing, and then we'll expect the Q&As later.
Sure. Thanks, Ashok. I'm Parmeshwar from Hexagon. Hexagon, we are into various domains, catering to the needs of space, agriculture, mining, automobile, various domains. One of the, in India, we don't have Hexagon Agriculture Division. In 2021, we thought that let us bring some of our agriculture technology, what we have in Brazil. In Brazil, we have a big Agri division, which caters to the needs of the local Brazilian farms, as well as some of the South American and part of the European and some Southeast Asian countries requirements. We thought that let us bring those technologies and customize it to Indian needs and present it to the students of the universities rather than selling these products to the market. So with that concept, we started preparing an idea. Then in 2023, last year, we signed an agreement with the Government of Karnataka and University to set up this center. This year, we have successfully set up the center. This center is in the University of Agriculture Sciences, GKVK in Bangalore. This has got 5 different labs. The key objective of this center is to give a demonstration about these technologies, equipment, hardware, software to various stakeholders. Bring farmers to here and show them these products. Give and impart the skills to the students of this agriculture university and surrounding engineering colleges. With this objective, we have set up. How this model works? There's a hub and spoke model. University has the central hub, which has got 5 different labs. In and around a 50 to 100 kilometer radius, we'll be going to have 3-4 spokes. Either it is in the Krishi Vigyan Kendra or any agriculture university nearby. Some of these technologies, we will take it to there once in a while and give a demonstration to it. How are we doing it? With these 5 labs, we have various kinds of technologies. Now let me just go through the operation-wise in an agriculture, how it happens typically. In a typical traditional system, a farmer actually, he practices the entire agriculture with his own previous experience. We thought of, let us bring some automation to it and data to it. We use drones for surveying, either it's a land survey or the multispectral drone for the crop health survey. We also do the soil testing by using some simple soil test kits, and we prepare what is called prescription map. This is the prescription map. In a precision farming, it is very important to give exact kind of nutrient or inputs to the exact location at the right point of time. We prepare this prescription map. Here you can see a simple, in this piece of land, how much chemical is to be applied for various patches. Now, in a traditional farming, what happens? Farmer goes there, just sprays a standard recommendation and to the entire farm. In this, we will prepare the prescription map and feed into our tractor sprayer. This is a tractor, which is the locally available tractor, locally available sprayer. We automated it by adding some sensors to it. It will sense the exact location of the field and sprays the correct quantity. Similarly, a fertilizer broadcaster we have. This also does the same operation. The beauty is there will not be over or under spraying. The exact quantity, whatever we are prescribing for that land, that is being applied. This is a classroom. In each of these lab, we have 60 hours course. It's about 12 days. Sometimes we may offer 5 days course also. The students can come and learn these courses, and we are working with the university to provide certificates for the students also, so that they can go back and work with an industry or set up their own startups. Yeah, this is our lab. We have 5 different such labs. I invite all of you to this lab. We are working from Monday to Saturday. You can come any day. We are available there. This is a drone lab. Each of the lab has got 15 seats student capacity. Thank you.
Thanks, Parmeshwar. I think you have tempted us to come to your labs and see how the transformation can happen in the grassroots. We'll wait for the questions in a while. Be seated. Varun, you are there. Everybody knows you. But do tell us what exactly is happening on your side.
Absolutely. So thank you everybody for coming in and joining us here today, both on behalf of the Thai Matrix group, but also here to listen to what I have to say. I would like to start by asking a question. What if I told you that to be part of this Thai event, you need to install a mobile app? That would kind of annoy you, right? I mean, it's another app on my phone, doesn't really work, right? So farmers feel the same way. I mean, there are tons of apps out there. Every agri organization has a mobile app. What is a good way to engage with farmers at scale, right? This barrier to entry of getting somebody to download an app is dead on arrival in most cases. So that is actually where the concept of generative AI, which is a very hot topic today, comes into play. But what is generative AI enabling? It's really just enabling a very fluid user experience for farmers to, in theory, interact with different services, right? Now, GenAI is the hot thing right now, but if you go back a few years, the idea of natural language processing and communicating with computers over text or voice has been there for a very long time. So taking the lessons learned from the evolution of AI within this space, we can start applying that to what we can do with generative AI or chatbots in general within the agriculture space. So one of the first use cases of any natural language processing system was in access to information, right? So there'll be some database or data set of information, and then you could, using normal text or speech, you'll be able to access that. GenAI is very good at that part, right? But access to information is not something that farmers lack. Whether it's from their friends or their neighbors, whether it's from the local agri input shop, every agri business has extension agents and agronomists there to help them. The government does a lot of work for this as well. So access to information is, in my opinion, not a very strong use case for generative AI or conversational-based user experiences for farmers. The next step the next evolution was actually doing things, right? So that's when you take an NLP system and connect it with other systems outside of it. For example, registering for a government scheme or buying a certain fertilizer, right? Then you're taking your NLP system and then you're connecting it with other systems. Even if you want to sell produce, right? You can do that over chat. So going from information retrieval to actually being able to do things was the next evolution. But then where has NLP gone from there? Basically, it's being more proactive. So now you have these AI systems which, based on the information that has been collected from the farmer through chat interactions, the system can proactively reach out to farmers, right? Basically, things like, through the conversation, I, as an AI, know that you have planted tomato 3 weeks ago. It's 3 weeks now. What are my nutrient recommendations for this week? Or what are the pests and diseases that make the most sense that'll attack my crop in this week, right? So you're taking that information and having the generative AI assistant or the conversational assistant be proactive, right? Now, where do we go from there? So the next step is really go across the value chain by creating communities, right? This is something that hasn't really been explored too much at this point. We're very excited to be working on some of, I think, the very bleeding edge of what's happening within the agriculture space and conversational user experiences. Yeah, but the idea is that we can start creating communities with these digital assistants and link those communities together. So whether it's farmers and input suppliers and agri-finance and market linkages on the supply chain, bringing FPOs in the middle of it, that can all be done through conversational user experiences, which at the end of the day for farmers is the user experience they're most familiar with. You know, if they have a smartphone, they know how to chat. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you.
Great work, Varun, at the grassroots and also putting the tech there. It needs lots of patience on the both sides. The tech is kind of, they can't hold it, and now making understanding of these tech solutions to the farming community is equally tough. But you have made us impressive that we should call you to our farms, put the kind of sensor-based thing. And most interesting thing is AgWise is connecting by interactive platforms. And ease of doing it is thing. Only one suggestion is, can you make it affordable? Yeah, that's the moot questions. Like Hetendra, next is yours. I just want to know one thing, like what triggered you into this actually? Maybe the lady of the house told you you have brought some bad tomatoes or whatever. Tell your stories.
Guess it right. Yeah. So it is partially correct, but I will tell you the whole story. So, hi guys, my name is Hetendra and I'm founder of Segritech. So, my experience into the Agritech is very exciting and will keep you connected with me. So before that, I was doing into edtech and e-commerce before Agritech. So I was just in the college. I was in college and I was exploring what is a startup and how can we make our own company rather than sitting into an interview and getting a job from college like in campus, right? So I started my own platform for selling used books and for used books of engineering and medical academics. So I did good in that, and I was a rock star in Rajasthan, and all these incubators were chasing me. So I thought like I was more into business thing and less on the technology side. So I closed that and I jumped into a different startup that is Bodhi AI. So in that startup, what we used to do is we incorporated AI for assessment of a student's preparation for the examinations that they are going to appear for, right? So what we did is we assessed them and we told them the strengths and weaknesses of their preparation, and we used to give them a recommendation that this is how you can improve your preparation, right? So then also I was, lacking something in my, happiness side that, this is not the thing that I can make some impact over the society and on globe, right? So I have to do something which, even if I do not make money, at least I have some impact on society, and if I die, I'm satisfied, right? So that was my motive behind. So what I thought is, let's do something for farmers. So I made a platform called Tigli.com, and I connected them to big kitchens like hotel, restaurants, and cafes in Jaipur, Rajasthan. Jaipur is a very beautiful city. If you want to visit, like you should definitely visit. Yeah. So I'm just promoting Jaipur here. So what we did is we made a group of farmers and we started taking produces from them. So we started with fruits and vegetables and connected them to hotel restaurants, and I did a lot good before COVID, and just because of the pandemic lockdown, we had to shut down that business and we had to pivot. So whatever money we have earned from the B2B side, we invested into the B2C, and we launched one app for the B2C players, B2C consumers, so that in the COVID they can order it from home and we can deliver it on their doorstep. So we did good in that, but that has lot of challenges like Zepto, Blinkit, and all these people are burning money every month, every day, and they're not they're not profitable, right? So it's a long way to reach to the profitability game. That's a whole different story. But then I realized that okay. This also, a lot of people are doing similar. In Jaipur itself, there are 10 grocery apps, right? So what I'm doing differently. So I observed that what we are doing is we are packaging the fruits and vegetables and delivering to the end consumer whatever needs they have. So different consumers have different requirements, and different hotels have different requirements. Let's say for health-centered cafes and restaurants, they have a whole different requirement, like they need broccoli, bell pepper, kale, and different things like leafy vegetables more. So we had to separately do it, packaging all for them. And fruits and vegetables, I will come to you. So 1 minute left. Oh, okay. so okay. So we used to do the processing of the fruits and vegetables within our warehouse with our manpower, right? So we thought that we can definitely automate this process, because 90% of the farmers and traders on the large scale at the farm level, on the source level, they do it manually, right? Because all the big machineries for the sorting and grading, they are mostly imported and very expensive. Like if I say $2 lakh in dollars, it's like $2 lakh and more, right? So we thought of building compact and portable machines which farmers and traders can afford and keep it in their not warehouse but in their farm itself, and they can sort it out. And so what we can do is we can digitalize the fruits and vegetables at the same place and the farm level, the source level, and we can connect them into the whole supply chain, whoever want to buy it. So we can connect it to the right buyers. Let's say the grade is so poor that it will go into the waste, right? And the wastage is like $12 billion of the wastage in fruits and vegetables across India. In India alone, that is the volume, right? So what we can do is we can give it to the we can give it to the people who recycle it, or we can give it to the bottom of the pyramid who are dying due to poverty and those kind of people. Like we can donate it to the NGOs. So like that we can connect it to the right buyers, to the farmers, to the right buyers, right? So that's what we are doing in Segritech. We just started our journey. We raised $100K recently, and yeah, wish me luck, please.
Thanks, Hetendra. It was so interesting. In fact, I did visit their, workshop in Hyderabad after the TAI event which hosted him. My curiosity was how much the machine does and how much the hand does. And I could see the machine was quite operative, and I think they are redesigning the prototype now. I think next 2 months it should be ready. Most of us want to pick up good things in the retail market, and that should come out of you. Thanks for this orientation. Subhankar, you'll have to wait for a few minutes. I know we have to go to the second session also. We'll hear the lady who is picking up the wasted tomatoes.
Thank you, guys. My name is Shruti Kutmutia, and I run a company called BacAlt Biosciences. BacAlt stands for Bacterial Alternatives. So, short background, bioinformatician and biotechnologist. Did my master's in Bangalore itself, and then moved to Singapore to pursue higher research for the past 8 years. What I specialize in is the interaction of microbes to their environments, and how, while they can kill us, they can also do really good work for us. And they can, one example, amaranth, we all eat amaranth, right? It's a very famous crop in Bangalore especially. The lysine, it's the only plant that gives you lysine, the amino acid. But that comes from the microbes. So if you take out 5 microbes from the soil of amaranth, you are not going to get lysine. That is the power of microbes and soil interactions that you come, and that's the... So when my peers work with precision fermentation and adding, precision technologies and adding precise controls to making the plant a specific way, what we work with is how do we come up with generics that can help any and every plant that are soil independent and that will still perform equally good over and over, over 100 cycles of farming, and the effect would not be reduced. If you look at the stats in India, it takes around 3 to 4 times more amount of fertilizer to get the same amount of yield, and you still don't hit the light yield. What that shows us is that our soils are saturated and the plants refuse to absorb the older nutrients, or the nutrients are basically not bioavailable for the plants. So even if you stack your soil with these things, does it even have an effect on the plants? It really doesn't. That's why we need a carrier that carries these nutrients from the sand or the soil to the plant. And we have come up with one such polymer called polygamma glutamic acid. It in itself is made out of, for ease sake, let's call it MSG. It is made out of MSG, but it works as a biopolymer that holds 10,000 times its weight in water. So currently, due to drought situations, you must have seen that the farmers were advised to put plastics or those small microbeads in their soil. Those are the plastics that are used in your diapers. Now, is that the soil that you want to eat? Because when we eat root vegetables, those microplastics leach into the food and then we consume it. And that has been a very big problem. That is the problem that we are here to solve. With our product, you can save more than 30% of water. We're doing some trials and we'll get the results soon enough. But you definitely have consistently 30% or more germination rate, higher yields, etc. So if you go back to the picture, we also made sure that we have a complete circular economy. These are the kind of wastes that are unavoidable. 30 to 40% of pineapple is just unedible. What are you going to do about it? Those peels are thrown away in the farms after the agro-industrial people utilize the pulp area. They shove the peels of it in the other farms, right? 30% to 35% of every tomato tomato producing farm wastes tomatoes. 35%. That generates up to 1.8 million tons of carbon every year. And that is something that we never speak of. Nobody wants to touch it. Well, there's a lot of good work happening when it comes to rice straws, converting into cellulose and biochar, etc. Nobody touches the wet waste. This waste is filled with sugar, nutrients, and if you dump it in your soil, either they become a breeding ground for mosquitoes to go attack the farmers themselves, or they become a really pathogenic fungal attractant. So all this has to go, and that's why we designed a circular process where we take these waste, we ferment it. It's a precision fermentation. Our precision comes in the fermentation part, where we make our micro produce a certain amount and type of polygamma glutamic acid, which is that little blob. So that is the wet form of it. If I dry it up, it won't even be 0.01 grams. So that's the amount of water it holds. And then we go give it back to the farmers so they can improve their yields, reduce the water consumption, and also have less amount of fertilizers, NPK, urea required in the soil. So that's the work that we do. Thank you.
Thanks, Shruti. You went full circle, circular economy. But I still have a observation, like you are contradicting yourself, saying we put a growth promoter, take the best crop out, and still you look for a waste. Yeah. But all the best, like.
The growth, but we cannot work on, like, I can't do the cold storage, supply chain, logistics part of it. That is where India fails currently, is what I see. Because when I go to farms in Kolar, when, you know, you've seen us go to all the FPOs, and there is so much waste. Okay, the fruits are fresh today, okay? But by the time they reach Bangalore, they're going to be in a destitute condition. So nobody's going to buy them. So they start dumping it right there. And that's just painful to see.
Farm tech and a food tech company with the farmers. And what we have achieved is we have worked with 7.2 million farmers and increased their yield by 300%, increased their total ROI by 300%. And that could be done by doing so many small things here and there, everywhere in the total value chain. We will talk about that in the next session. What I'm trying to tell you here is that we are just now creating, okay. So we are just now creating different carbon projects with these farmers and trying to bring the benefits to the farmer. There are a lot of carbon projects which is getting created in the ecosystem, but then the benefits doesn't come back to the farmer. So that is exactly where we are working. We are seeing some of the companies who are working in this field are giving somewhere around 10 to 15% of the carbon credit back to the benefits as the smallholder farmers. Vis-a-vis, we are working to give them 60 to 65% benefit back to the farmers. And we have already started our first project in Sundarban mangrove area. We are starting our second project in the paddy field for West Bengal, Jharkhand, and Bihar. I don't know why it's not working. Okay, next ones, please. Yeah. So so probably we can speak about all these details in the next session. We don't have really time for this. So the second project we have already started for the paddy field for West Bengal, Jharkhand, and Bihar, as I was telling you. And then we are starting one more project in the tea industries in West Bengal and Assam. And we have such 15 more projects in our pipeline. We are just right now trying to figure them all out, how to start as soon as possible. But the main important part is the benefit goes to the farmer. And how is that possible? We will talk about that in the next session. Because, thank you.
So we just open up the floor for a few quick questions. Anybody want to ask any of the panelists? Yeah, we can start.
So I have a couple of questions. One for Mr. Parameshwar. So how are you converting the drone multispectral imagery into the map? So can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Okay. We use ADAS imaging software to analyze these images. If it is confirmed, then we have another software called GeoMedia software. In that GeoMedia software, we prepare the prescription maps based on the soil nutrient capacity or healthiness of the crop. We prepare which has the display which will communicate with the sprayer or fertilizer broadcaster.
Great. We'll visit your lab and get into a more detailed discussion.
Thank you.
I have one question for Shruti. Are you doing anything about cashew apple?
Not yet, because I haven't had my hands on the waste there, but if you have it, please let me know.
No, we have somebody who has done some research on that, who's creating a protein powder and a juice and all that.
Right.
I'll connect somebody with you.
Sure, happy to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Or less bitter or something for cane. Just trying to understand if other countries are open for something that comes from India or any other countries.
Right, so what we're some indigenous Aboriginal herbs as well, and the idea is here for India as well, the local Indian herbs. So what is in all the products that we eat? Right now we don't really know. And I think biohacking is something that's coming on trend. So being able to understand not just how we produce carbohydrates, but how we produce nutrition, and then giving that information to our end users, but even taking one step further and thinking, how can we create convenience by creating powders and capsulizing this stuff? That's the intention for where we want to get to, and that's why the partnerships with the IHLs, because we just need to do a lot of testing, right? All the products that I've grown are mostly like European vegetables, because in Singapore, that's what gets a premium. So that's how I had to play to win, right? But working here in India, working in Malaysia, working in Singapore, and also in Perth in Western Australia, the intention is to listen to what the demographics need, understand what's in those products, how can we enhance it, but more importantly, how can we grow it more efficiently, and then digitalize those growing protocols. Those growing protocols is what we then take to the farmers and then say, what do your consumers need? This is how we can actually cultivate that food, whether it's in outdoor soil or in a high-tech indoor farm, it doesn't matter. We want to create that protocol, the know-how, so that we can go beyond just farm to table. We can go to farm to maybe health, or even better, farm to wellness.
Thank you.
Yeah, what the kind of things I just went on, and is the most overcrowded, houseful session across the entire setup. So clap for yourselves. We are going to the next session. Before that, one item was missing, where I'm also involved. Like, it's an Akshaya Kalpa, which you see in the kind of listing of this. Akshaya Kalpa, Shashi Kumar, CEO, was to be here. There are some health reasons he could make it. But I've been a co-founder there, where we all spoke about the greens. Here it's white. White revolution happened through Amul. But the different dynamics worked here. we still connect with the farming community, but this turnkey implementation of organic dairy farming done in households. We graduated each house from 2 animal unit to 20 plus animal units to make it an economical unit for the house lady to earn. Execution happens by the Ashok Kalpa team. We have 2,000 plus employees in a village setup, and the daily production of milk is 1 lakh liters. Most of the Bangaloreans have liked it. No client comes in Ashok Kalpa, client base exits so far, though our pricing is 80 rupees plus per liter. Not to comment on others, you don't drink white water here, you drink milk. And it's as good as the cow coming to your house. We have put the traceability. A liter of milk you buy, we can trace it back to the which unit has produced it. And it's green fodder, it's certified organic produce. So please come into the website and have a look at it. We are expanding now into Hyderabad in Chennai with all IT systems in place. And you can watch, you can come on the weekends and stay with us in the farms. See the cattle grazing freely in their farms. We don't tie them. And there's nothing, there's no sanitation required. It's so like, there's no inorganic, except vaccinations. We don't put any of the inoculums to the cow. So the cow produces the real milk for us. So just visit this, and then we want to expand. Like any cluster of farm families coming in, we want to be there and expand this, dynamics of organic farming there. We have now started the organic vegetables, which is also delivered at home. And the supply chain mechanism works so well that before 6 o'clock, milk is in your hands, along with the chosen organic vegetables grown there. So Shashi Kumar is not there, I'm just filling the gap. So thanks for this great audience and panelists who exchanged. They're all true stories, nothing from the book.
They have been sending this milk test report. It's about some 20-page report they will send. All the pesticide, which we even agriculture graduate, we might not have heard. All those pesticides, they do these tests. Hats off. Thank you. I really welcome you to this lab. Yes, sir. All the best. Thank you.